I want to play for you this remarkable exchange from the briefing where Press Secretary Sarah Sanders was asked a pretty straightforward question, I think by NBC's Kristen Wilker. Let's take a listen.
Stand at the podium and guarantee the American people they'll never hear Donald Trump utter the N-word on a recording in any context?
I can't guarantee anything, but I can tell you that the president addressed this question directly. I can tell you that I've never heard it.
Just to be clear, you can't guarantee it.
Look, I haven't been in every single room. I can tell you the president has addressed this directly.
I mean, that's pretty stunning. First of all, I'm not sure why today of all days she decided that lying was something she wasn't willing to do. So kudos to her for the truth on that.
But like once in a while,
but the idea that you can't make that guarantee. Why can't you make that guarantee?
Because anyone who's been paying attention knows that, well, basically, if you don't know that Donald Trump is not a racist or is a racist, gosh, I'm trying to get my words together here, then you haven't been paying attention. So even she knows that she cannot categorically say that Donald Trump is not a racist. And also, just look at his Twitter feed. When you call somebody a dog, especially people of color, which he loves to do, women in particular, you're basically dehumanizing them. You're saying you're not human. And the funny thing, too, I was thinking about it, too, is like, okay, Putin's poodle is calling Omarosa a dog, right? Because that's what he's been called after the Helsinki. But it's the low IQ, right? The rapists, the drug dealers, it's all a pattern. And what he is saying is people who are not like me, the other, I am going to dehumanize them, and they are not human. I'm going to belittle them, and I'm going to make them less than. And that is Donald Trump's way.
Don't you think that you could guarantee that if somebody said you used to work for Mitch McConnell, can you guarantee that there's no tape of Mitch McConnell using the N-word?
No hesitation whatsoever.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I mean, no hesitation whatsoever. What was so puzzling about this for me is that your job as the press secretary, and Sarah's got the toughest job in politics by far, and that goes by basically any press secretary. But the president did address this on Twitter. In fact, he said it's not in his vocabulary. So why then, at a press briefing, we can't make guarantees about whether or not this tape exists is really puzzling to me, because the president said himself it doesn't exist.
He says a lot of things himself that he then has to retract because they're lies. I think we're well into the thousands in Washington Post count about the number of lies. I think my challenge here is to just chime into what, Karine, you were saying, and that is Jemele Hill, Frederica Wilson, Maxine Waters, LeBron James, CNN's Don Lemon, NFL players who are overwhelmingly black are sons of bees. This man has an issue with black people. He has an issue with Latino people. That's how he started his campaign. And so she can't guarantee that a racist didn't use the N-word for the same reason that we can't guarantee that the head of the KKK didn't use the N-word, right? Like, I hate to break it to you, but this guy, and I remember, like, being on air during the campaign, and the first time I said he was a racist, I can't remember whose show it was. Jake, it was not yours. But they said, you can't call him a racist. Why can't I? If all indicators say that you regularly traffic in this type of conversation, and you will egg people on, even on the anniversary of Charlottesville where somebody died, he couldn't say, right, like, this was white supremacy. It has to end. He said again, it wasn't, this time he didn't say on all sides. There are good people on both sides. He said all types of racism. And so he regularly plays footsie with white supremacists. And that's why he's probably said that.
And if I could just say that their defenders of the president point out, and Sarah Sanders was doing this, that he's an equal opportunity offender. He goes after everyone. And it is true that he has called people dogs before. And it is true that he's insulted people's intelligence before. But according to the Washington Post, 11 of the 15 attacks on people's intelligence post-inauguration, okay, so just since he was inaugurated, 11 of the 15 were against African-American men or women. So that is quite disproportionate, not only to the population, but to Trump critics. And this is before Omarosa. Don't you think that there is an issue? Well, you've been saying it for months. There is an issue here. There is an issue here, Bill.
Yeah, there's an issue there, and it's not an issue for African Americans to call out. It's an issue for all Americans to call out. He's the president of all of us, and he's saying things that are really indefensible.
Yeah. So one other thing about the tape, the release today by Omarosa about what seems to be Trump campaign aides, including Katrina Pearson, discussing the potential N-word tape. She denied that call ever happened on Monday, but she's now released a statement saying, quote, in her secret tape recording of me, it was one of many times that I would placate Omarosa to move the discussion along because I was weary of her obsession over this alleged tape. That discussion was nothing other than sifting through unconfirmed rumors regarding the Apprentice tape, and the transcript supports my statement. Omarosa fabricated the story by conflating numerous discussions. So this is a challenge for all of us here. We honestly have a story where there are like 30 liars.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
And
They're not credible. Nobody's credible.
And they're all changing their stories. Omarosa, Katrina
Yes,
Pearson,
yes,
the president,
yes,
they're
yes.
all changing their stories, and we don't know what to believe. And that's, I guess, why Omarosa has these tapes.
But shouldn't we just believe like his behavior, right?
Right.
If we don't have
Right.
to ever listen
Right.
to a word he speaks,
Yes.
we can listen to this man's behavior. We can watch her behavior. She told us at the National Action Network convention, every knee shall bow to Donald Trump. Boo, that's a Bible verse.
Yeah.
That's a Bible verse, and it does not apply.
Yeah.
We shall not be bowing down to Donald
Yeah.
Trump.
Yes.
He will be bowing down like Nebuchadnezzar. That's another Bible.
And we don't-
And
And
why
we
are we
don't-
talking? And why are we talking about Omarosa? Because Donald Trump
No,
made her
he
an
started
assistant
it.
to the president.
Yeah.
Assistant to the president. There are about 20 of them in the White House.
Right.
I know people who've served in government. Josh does too. We all do, I'm sure.
Yeah.
20, 30 years. They got up to the deputy assistant level. They did a heck of a lot for this country, and they never quite made that level. That's a very high level at the White House. Think about that for a
Yeah.
minute. I mean, that was just, everyone
brought her
dismisses
into
that.
the-
Well,
he
that's
brought
just
her into
Trump
the-
being Trump. She didn't have much power. It's really just, that in itself is
But
very
Bill,
telling.
that's true too. He paid her the most, but she didn't have an office in the White House. She was in EOB, which I think is also significant for you to be paid at that level, but he's still keeping you out to a degree. I think that's important too.
He's keeping her out probably for good reason
Right.
now.
Yeah,
That's
I mean,
taxpayer money.
in retrospect, that was
I
smart.
agree.
He's not
I'm not
paying her.
disputing
As
salary.
you know,
But
Angela.
he just-
We are paying her.
That's
We're paying
true,
her.
too, but
And
we're
incidentally,
paying
John
him,
Kelly
too.
took over, as Trump tweeted, right? And John Kelly right away said, well, she should go. But Trump persuaded the chief of staff to keep her around for an extra 6 months, I think it
Yeah.
is, because she was saying nice things about him.
Yeah.
And we were paying for her to be an assistant to the president because she was
says nice
apparently
things about him.
saying
But
nice
that's how he
things about him.
rolls.
And
That
Josh,
is
you work in
definitely how they
campaigns.
roll.
What do you make of this move by the Trump campaign to bring a legal action against her to honor her non-disclosure agreement, which obviously is very broadly written, not just about state secrets or personal information, but just about any disparagement, any information.
Yeah, I mean-
and they're actually seeking money from her. They're seeking to tell her to stop, so she can stop talking. I mean,
Right.
I've never seen anything like this.
Well, as a political matter, it's the exact opposite of what you'd want to do, right?
Right.
Because I think if you didn't do anything at all, if you just let Omarosa go on her book tour and show up on all the various cable stations and say whatever she's going to say, by Monday of next week, Omarosa doesn't exist on planet Earth. There's nobody that's talking about this book after 1 week, unless they light the fuse and begin tweeting at her and begin filing some kind of legal action against her, which is where we're at now. And now who knows how long this goes. My problem with this entire story is what you mentioned, Jake, in that I'm all filled up on credibility problems here, right? I'm not interested in entertaining anybody else's version of the events. If the tape exists, let's hear it. If it doesn't exist, let's not talk about it. Because frankly, just speculating on whether we think he's a racist and whether we think that these things exist, I think undermine the credibility that President Trump is actually making real inroads with as to what the media covers in this country.
Right, except
Here's
can I
the
point?
fact. I mean,
yeah.
I just want, and I give her, if she hadn't come out, we wouldn't be discussing, we wouldn't know, I don't think for sure, it was reported a few months ago, that the White House was having government employees sign the non-disclosure agreement.
It had been reported and the White House had lied and said it wasn't
Yes,
true.
Yeah.
that is very important in my view. It is totally outrageous. There's no legal authority for it. I would like Don McGahn, the White House counsel, who is a government employee and who should be accessible to the media occasionally at least, or his deputy, who is the ethics lawyer, to explain what legal authority they have to pressure White House staffers to signing something that's totally inappropriate for a public
Washington
official.
Post has a story today where Don McGahn was walking around getting people to sign it and saying, "Don't worry, it's not enforceable." He just doing it just to placate the president.